everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder of videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to another DM's Guild review, my written and video view series where I take a look at the adventures and supplemental material at the Dungeon Masters Guild website. This video will be reviewing the Planar Sourcebook Ulraunt's Guide to the Plains Acheron, designed by Marc, Altfuldisch, David J. Moore, Hiten, Dave, JVC Parry, and Sean Hendrickson for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. A review copy has been provided for the purposes of this review. If you enjoy my videos, consider using my affiliate links for your DM's Guild shopping and supporting me via patreon.com/RogueWatson. Shoutouts to Platinum patrons Joe, Well, Tiny Dancer, Andy, Manuel, Basil, Tom, and Huskarl124. And Gold patrons RPG Papercrafts, Charming Grenade, Pretty Boy Nima, Marcos de Vicente, Gilberto, Shawnee K. Cert, to be Adam, Dithers, Lounge, Sam, Arash, Lumpy Spuds, Jerome, Fatboy619, Scalenia, and Nick. Thank you all very much for your support. I didn't know what an Acheron was. I cracked open the Dungeon Master's Guide, flipped through the index, looked it up, and apparently it is as I could surmise, one of the planes in the Outer Planes in the D&D universe. Specifically situated between Mechanus and the Nine Hells. So if you think about the planes as being on a wheel or like a clock, if you think about it as a clock with law at about 9 o'clock and chaos at about 3 o'clock, and you've got good at noon and evil at 6, my metaphor's falling apart, then Acheron is about like 8:30. It's right between, it's basically lawful evil, not quite super evil, not quite super lawful. I know that because I read through this guidebook, and folks, this is one of the most impressive, I'm just going to say products, period, that I've actually reviewed on the DM's Guild. Certainly one of the best source books, probably my favorite source book since I reviewed the Cormier source book last year. It's huge praise. It's over 300 pages long. It includes over 100 new monsters, incredibly detailed lore and information all about Acheron, which I had no idea you could even create an entire 300-page plus source book just based on one of those outer planes, and frankly not even one of the ones that I could have picked out of a hat. Like I can recognize the Nine Hells, and I think like Elysium, the Abyss, Mechanus is where the Modrons are from. That's, you know, I could probably name about 4 or 5 I had a gun to my head. Acheron was not one of them that I could have named. And it's apparently it's home to a bunch of giant metal cubes flying in the sky, and on those cubes are a lot of the orc and goblin gods, or goblinoid gods and the orc gods. They all wage war. I believe the Dwerger gods reside here, and gods just hang out here, by the way, because you're in the Outer Planes, and you know what? It says Epic Campaigns. Oh, I'm actually covering that up in my banner at the top, but it has Epic Campaigns written up here because when you're adventuring in the Outer Planes, you are pretty high level, unless you've kind of stepped in it and ended up here by accident, but that's the whole point. That's why these things exist, because at a certain level range, you've basically completed everything, any kind of threat that comes your way as adventurers in the material plane. Like you know, and think about most of the 5e campaigns, you've, you know, practically saved the world at like level 12. So by the time you're, you know, 18, 19, 20, what the hell are you doing? Well, you're going off into these crazy planes with these insane environmental conditions of these giant cubes rotating and crashing into each other, and just gods just hanging around having all these crazy powerful abilities and followers, and it's fascinating, it's interesting, and it's specifically tailored to high-level campaign play. So I do absolutely love the source book, but obviously if you're not going to be adventuring into the plains anytime soon, or do you see yourself running a high-level campaign, I don't think you're actually going to be able to use hardly anything out of this book. But it is extremely comprehensive, and what I really love, and I'm going to have to skim through this thing because it's so freaking long, the way it's organized, you know, the layout, the production value, everything is absolutely incredible. But one thing it really does that I've never seen a product do to this degree, you know, when a product says so-and-so something, you know, and Wizards does this too, Xanathar's Guide to Everything, Mordenkainen's Tomb of Foes, you know, all of those, then usually you'll get maybe like a fun kind of in-universe forward, you know, by that creator, and you kind of get their voice, and it's all very fun. Or you'll get all these little sidebars, Xanathar cracking wise about all the little tidbits that he's including in there, or Mordenkainen including notes about different creatures. Valo is, of course, always a fun character to read about his insight. What this does with Ulraunt, which I don't know how much of this is completely original and how much of it is taking from D&D lore, because anybody who knows my stuff knows that my D&D knowledge is extremely limited. It goes way further with that, and I'm showing you right here on the screen. An entire short story is written with Ulraunt essentially joining this high-level D&D party to go into Acheron and do a mission. And it doesn't quite end on a satisfying note. It's very much like a novella, or not even really that long. It's just a short story that kind of has a bit of a cliffhanger ending, and I was really wanting more, but it's incredibly well written, and smartly, it does a fun thing where, you follow these adventurers in, entire pages of stories, and it breaks up the action. It's not like here's the chapter of the story. Instead, it's like at the beginning of each of the different parts and chapters and layers of Acheron. Oh, there you go. There's my little clock thing I was talking about. There's Acheron right there at about 8 o'clock. And it uses those short stories to introduce you to each layer, which is really smart and really an immersive and fun read for somebody like me who has no idea where to start with this. And I'm interested, but by presenting this in-universe, very thematic, very immersive story, I'm really sucked into it, and it's really fun. And very well written. So I thought that was a really, really cool aspect of it, and it's pretty long. You get all these different chapters throughout that do a good job of just introducing, okay, now we're on this layer, and then it pauses at a really fun, end of chapter moment, and then it talks about, so example, the wizard teleports them and says, all right, we can't teleport to Acheron exactly, but the river Styx goes in there, so we teleport to the river Styx, and we have this fun little journey through the Styx, and then it talks about, okay, how do you navigate through Acheron? What are the different ways to get there, and how do you teleport there, and all that. It's very, very smartly well organized and extremely well written, so I thought that was just really, really fun, and I'd never seen any kind of supplement or source book take their their literal personification character that is pretty much just the title and then a sidebar, and actually create this entire story written about it. The one caveat being, I don't think it really ends. It just kind of, something happens, it's a fun little twist, and then it just kind of ends. And it was to where I was like, oh no, what happens next? Like, I want to read this book. Like, I want to read this story and find out how these adventurers can solve this new threat that has emerged. So I thought that was really, really fun, just a really neat idea, and a fun way to introduce all of this stuff. So the bulk of the book, and we're talking, I guess it's not the bulk, actually. The bulk is probably all the stat blocks, just because they take up a lot of room and they're really well done. But the main information is just talking about Acheron and the different layers. All the different planes work as layers, and the easiest one to understand is the 9 hells, because it just has every single layer as a different, different theme. There's a city hell, there's a frozen hell, there's the traditional volcanic hell, like all that stuff. So with Acheron, it has different layers, but each layer basically just has these giant cubes. Well, some are planet-sized, and some are just 10 feet by 10 feet. It's actually pretty crazy how much they're different sized. I think it's adorable that we actually get little drawing representations of these cubes, which literally looks like somebody, took a dice and splayed it out. It's not, it's cute, but how do you map like the planes? I don't know. It's an admirable job. But there's a bunch of different kinds of cubes. The blue cube is home to an ancient blue dragon. There's arcs of lightning everywhere and sky. The battle cube is really the main planet-sized cube where the orcs and goblin. It's kind of like Valhalla for like orcs and goblins, I guess. They all just wage war forever and ever. And you can keep going deeper and deeper into these planes, where you eventually run into basically the gods themselves. There's a whole village made of flesh in Flesh Slough, which is friggin' disgusting. You've got notes on encounters, environmental hazards, the different inhabitants. Just extremely detailed, good information, more than you could ever want. But if you're going to literally have an entire campaign, not just like one adventure in one area, or you could obviously pick one, but you could run an entire campaign just in Acheron, assuming you're starting at like level 20, which this supplement does include notes on creating epic levels. Now, That's a very tricky thing to do. I don't know. I have no experience with it. We're actually playing our first, high-level campaign right now, and that means we're in the teens. How do you even do epic, which is 20 plus? I haven't experienced that since Neverwinter Nights did it years ago. I have no experience with it. I can't comment on any of the kind of balance or how that even works, but it does include notes on how to craft an epic campaign, how to scale up, monsters and player powers and all of that. And it even includes some notes on mythic level spells, which I believe are literally when you reach level 30, like you can do these incredibly powerful spells. And yes, most of the stat blocks are designed for extremely high level play. Yes, there's like a bunch of new goblins and Dwerger and all of, there's some CR5s and CR2s and stuff in there you can use as basically minions, but a lot of the stat blocks are designed to threaten really high-level players. So if you were salivating over some really powerful creatures with hundreds and hundreds of hit points, they are here. They are here in spades. So really fun with the breakdown of all the different layers, the different cubes. There's a whole insectoid cube. God, the artwork is really fun too. A whole lot of creature artwork that's just really enjoyable. I'm skipping through here. Oh yeah, did you want stat blocks on like literal gods like Bane and Grumpsh I couldn't name most of the gods, but there's apparently a like were-mole god named Urndrill or something that looks freaking crazy. And they're all. By the way, Bane I think is a CR challenge rating. Oh, that's as a quasi divine mortal. Sorry, Bane is a greater deity. Is challenge rating 42. 42. Bane is a lesser deity is 38, and there's a quasi-divine mortal is 28. So Bane alone has several different stat blocks. It's really fun that you get these all high-level, incredible situations and encounters in here. These are all notes on all these high-level deities, lesser deities, greater deities. Really fun artwork throughout. They cover the Orc Pantheon, the Dwerger Pantheon, the Goblinoids, all over the place. I'm skipping, and then eventually you get to stat blocks, and it's over 100 new stat blocks. Well, there's the crazy. This one actually, the only reason I recognize this one flipping through it is because it takes. Spoiler alert is in that story. They all say Erdlin, and it's this gnome were-mole god who's at CR 37. Awesome. Tons and tons of creature stat blocks, which I'm gonna skip through. Where are we at? Okay, here we go. I just wanted to cover this stuff. It looks awesome. I mean, it's laid out really well. We've got vulture time wizards. We've got like this giant flying eel. Where are you? There we are. It's a gargantuan lightning eel that flies through the sky. Let's see. What are some of my notes I wrote down? Vulture time wizards, monstrous insects, the weremoles, goblins, dwerger, hobgoblins, constructs, demons, rust dragons, and there's a CR22 siege beetle in here. Just really awesome. And it's really a fun theme because Acheron is very militaristic and warlike in an evil way, being that it's kind of lawful and evil. Probably is awful for us. And so you can create a lot of really fun creatures and ideas with that. Everything from, goblins and dwerger hobgoblins to like just insectoids that enslave others. Like there's a lot of just really, it's a rife area full of adventure, which is exactly what I think we all want from all our high-level interplanar campaigns. Just absolutely love the design of all of this stuff throughout here. Now, I skipped through it, but there was also... all of this is for DMs, obviously. So, creatures and, information on the plane. I'm going to go back to the table of contents. I don't remember what page it was on. But all of this stuff has been specifically for the DM. Where is my page? And then it also includes new races and subclasses. There we go, 130. Character options, which is really above and beyond, because when I want a source book, I'm not even considering things to give to the players as choices. I'm just thinking about things that I as the DM can use. So this is a really cool bonus. And it's a lot more than a bonus. It's really good. It's 18 new subclasses. So it's not even just the one per class. It almost averages to 2 per class, 2 new subclasses. And they all use that really fun theme tied to Acheron, which is warmongering and metallic. The new spells also especially use, like there's electromagnetic spells and all of those. But the metal stuff is really, really fun. So, for example, the Barbarian has a path of, I don't know, some kind of metal. What is it called? Well, metallurgy, okay. And you can eventually basically become Colossus. Like, you just get that metal skin. The Druid can become is it the T-1000 from Terminator 2, the liquid metal Terminator, and basically shape their parts of their body into different, like, tools and weapons and things. The Rogue can separate their, like, soul from their body and enter, like, this ghost form, this, like, ghost walking form, which is really fun. So you can kind of go, like, incorporeal, basically. It's the ghost, I think it's really called the ghost walk. What else? The Artificer can have a drone, a little survey drone, or survey orb, or a thunder gauntlet. The lightning theme is really fun too. The Paladin can basically be Thor. You can enchant your weapon with thunder and throw it. It's all really, really just fun, cool abilities. And yes, they all scale into high levels. So they all go up to, you know, above level 20, which, you know, you don't have to use that. You could easily stop at, you know, level 20, and that's fine. But the fact that those options are there is really neat. And it's crazy because this is specifically designed, you know, again, if you're in the outer planes and you're fighting all these creatures, you're a high level character. So it's crazy that we also got new character options, or I guess you could kind of be multi-class and then use those as a multi-class. But it's interesting because this is specifically for high level campaigns and players, but we're also given this, you know, ostensibly new player content, and it's all really, really good. I mean, the fighter gets this cool, like, echo ghost form that can basically help them and train them, and you can do different things with your ghost buddy called a blade guide. I really like pretty much all of these class options. It's really, really fun. There's new spells, there's new warlock invocations. It kind of just, you know, ticks all those boxes, but it's also very well done. It's well written, and it uses its theme very well. Its theme being Acheron, which is, again, I knew nothing about Acheron going into this, absolutely nothing. And what I came out is, okay, Acheron is a plane of military, it's a plane of basically evil and subjugation and conquering, war, and it's a plane of metal and electricity and magnets, and I got all of that, and it's reflected throughout all the spells, all the character options, a lot of the creatures, like all of that. It feels like a really, really cool, fun place to explore in, with lots of just awesome creatures, and just it's such a well done source book that I don't think you would need anything else if you were going to run a high level campaign and you wanted to use something that is frankly not a very commonly used plane, at least as far as I'm aware. Like I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't have picked Acheron out of a hat, and now it seems like one of the most well realized. I mean, literally all of these outer plane sections have like a tiny paragraph in the Dungeon Master's Guide, and that's it. Now, I'm sure there's been previous editions of D&D that have gone more in depth about all these outer planes, but still, for 5th edition, this is absolutely incredible and way more than anybody could have asked for, and I think it's absolutely phenomenal. So let's go over my pros and cons for the Ulraunt's Guide to the Planes, Acheron. Pros: over 60 pages of detailed lore and information on Acheron's layers and denizens. It's a big chunk of the book that I really enjoyed. And pro: the well-written and immersive short story of an ill-fated adventuring party that highlights Acheron's mysteries and dangers. It's so well integrated into the lore part. It's so much fun to read. I can't heap enough praise upon these just this really fun short story. I enjoyed reading it. Pro: notes and rules on running epic level 20 plus content, including mythic level spells. 1 new race, 1 new subrace, and 18 new subclasses, including for Artificer and Blood Hunter, which is very cool. More pros: over 50 new spells and over 100 monster stat blocks, emphasizing high-level threats found in the Outer Planes. I realize it almost is just a laundry list of features, but all those features are amazing. It's just absolutely comprehensive and incredible. Cons: none. I got no complaints about this. I literally can't. I mean, I want more of that story, but that's not a complaint at all. That's just me loving it so much that I need more out of it. And frankly, I hope Ulraunt and the design team produces more of these guides to different planes, even though I don't know if I'll ever be able to actually use any of this material if we ever go into those high of levels, but it's really fun to read, and there's so much good information in here. Final verdict: Ulraunt's Guide to the Plains Acheron is an astonishingly comprehensive guide with hundreds of pages of well-organized lore, detailed locations, and powerful threats to craft the ultimate high-level campaign. Thank you to everyone for watching this video review. You can see my written review at roguewatson.com. You can support my work at patreon.com/roguewatson, and you can follow our own D&D adventures here on my YouTube channel. Thank you.